with that nice car and the boxing, which I will explain later before I sit down. The truth of the matter is, out there, Dad was known as a very strict and firm individual, and he was, yes, even at home. But you see, those of you who are out there never see him in a family environment. And even those of us who are on the wrong end of the boxing skills, when you are behaving, things were very smooth. He was a very good dad. I remember Charles on Tuesdays when he used to go from Nyeri to Nairobi to the wheat board meetings. He'd just say, come along, and we'll spend a good time in Nairobi having fun while he's in the board meetings. And then, like around Christmas, I remember we benefited, all of us, because tulikuwa tunanunuliwa nguo ya Christmas. Now, and well, before Charles went to the UK, he would actually get us to get suits, proper suits like the one I'm wearing. But after Charles left, and I didn't do very well in school, nikaambia sasa reduce to counter suit. And in those days, counter suits for us who are wearing platforms and flares just didn't work. Even the girl you are cheating now, she'll even abandon you. Now, let me go straight to the story of, sorry Charles, I may take a little longer. The story of the nice car and the boxing. One Christmas after we were coming from Kisii, and we had a farm. We have the farm in Sotik, and at that time there was tarmac on the main road along Sotik. But to go into the farm, we had to use a Land Rover. So Dad had arranged for a Land Rover to come and so that he can park his brand new Mercedes, which Mike always reminds me it was KQB 966. He had parked it on the side of the road, and he told me, we can't leave the car alone, so you're going to sit in here. The music was there, Kenny Rogers and Charlie Pride. And now these were the first cars which had central locking, which we were also not getting used to, which we were getting used to them at that time. And he had mentioned, I think, that should you feel you need to step out of the car, remove the key. But for some reason, because I was not thinking about the central locking cars, I felt, let me come out and stretch. As soon as I stepped out, I had click. Gari lijifunga. Kifungu iko ndani. Na mzee and the rest of the family had gone into the farm. Somehow he got information that I have defied what he had said, and the key was locked inside, and the Mercedes was brand new Mercedes was on the side of the road. Nobody could help me. Now, he was informed that had happened. So now, when he was coming from the farm with the Land Rover to the junction, he didn't even wait for the Land Rover to stop. As it was slowing down, he already jumped out like the security men I see around the president and deputy. He wasn't driving, so he came out and he came straight for me. Now, I was around Form 4. When I was tall, probably I'd even reached his height or a little taller. So, as he's coming for me, and I'm trying to look as helpless as possible. So he comes for me, then the punches begin. And he was very skilled with those punches. And Muhammad Ali had just been knocked out by George Foreman a few weeks earlier. And what surprised me is that he even understood these ones of... Kuna moja alinunua, I mean, I've always wanted to go up, I've always wanted to go up in life, but not that way. Ilikuja akaninunua. Now, the story doesn't end there, but it's about to end. He said, he can't even keep small instructions. He's not going to ride with us in the Mercedes. Now, that Land Rover had also brought some goats, which we were supposed to go and eat in Nyeri. So, akasema, huyu ataingia ndani ya hiyo. And they should not follow us, because the rest of the family was going to go through Nakuru and have nice food in, I think, Stag's Head. Right. So, akasema, huyu, na driver, na mbuzi, direct to Nyeri. So, I was at the back of the Land Rover, tunaangaliana na mbuzi. Hata hiyo mbuzi, I think mbuzi ilikuwa na shida. Na wewe mtoto mkubwa unafanya nini hapa nyuma? Anyway, eventually we were lucky. The farm manager managed to use, I think there was a bit of space on the driver's side, and fortunately, so it clicked, and I'm sure they went and had very good lunch in Nakuru. Myself, we're going through Nyahururu. I think we stopped somewhere like Daragwa. And the driver and the bodyguard who I was with, wakanunua mahindi chamusha hapo, wakaniambia mtoto wa mkubwa sikule hata wewe hii. So I was chewing it in the back of the Land Rover, and the goat was wondering, wewe unakula peke yako na tuko pamoja hapa? Anyway, before I sit down, Charles, you're going to have to give me a minute. And I didn't ask if I can read. This is from Honorable Beth Mogo, because you might have said no, and I have no one to appeal to, because the only appeal, amelala hapo. Ukikataa hakuna mtu nitaendea. Wacha tu nisome haraka haraka. This is from Honorable Beth Mogo, who is very close to the family, and the grandmother of my two older daughters. If you can allow me to read it very quickly. The friendship between Honorable Nyachae's family and ours dates back very many years. We got to know him when he was a PC, and I called him PC always, even as he rose through to higher rank. Because he left an indelible mark as a PC due to his charismatic leadership, with time, we ended up being in-laws, and he respectably called us Korera. That is in-laws in Kisii. We have since remained friends throughout, and we share grandchildren together. That is Mwango, my first daughter, and Wamboi, my second daughter. From that vantage point, we came to understand Mzee Nyachae very well, and we can say that rarely does a person achieve so much from a tender age and yet still be able to maintain a sense of selflessness in public service. But this is how the late Honorable Nyachae lived his life. He belongs to the first generation of career civil servants who were firmly committed to good governance in public service immediately after independence. In his long journey in leadership, he served this country with an equal perfection, never tiring to actualize his leadership abilities until his retirement. He has therefore left a rich legacy of commitment and dedication in leadership, as well as excellence in public service. This legacy is worth emulating by the younger generation in order to enrich governance and the quality of leadership of our country going forward. We join his family today in celebrating his life. During this difficult period, it is our prayer that God will strengthen the family and give you fortitude to bear the loss. May Mzee's soul rest in the loving arms of the Almighty God. Thank you. Mukitaka zingine, stories zingine nitawaambia baadaye.
Asante. Watakaofuata ni Moses Nyachae, Chief Nyandusi Nyachae na Brian Nyandusi. Nitaomba wajonge mbele na mkinikubalia, let us reduce protocol to make it shorter. Reduce the protocol kindly.
Okay. All protocols observed. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to just give a very short tribute. It's impossible to follow my brother Ken with all his stories, so I'm going to try and keep it brief. As everybody has said, both in Nairobi and the various tributes that we've received, and I'm sure will be forthcoming as other speakers give their tributes. Dad was a hard-working man, and the hardest working man I've ever known. And he's somebody that we, as his children, just aspire to emulate in everything that we do. As much as we emulate his work ethic and his principles, we also try and emulate his sense of family and family responsibility. And there's just a couple of examples that I can give, which in my mind, sort of in my experience, just sort of captures that. And it's not stuff that you necessarily appreciated when you were young, but you appreciate in older age. And when I look back at the early 80s, when you know, my brother who follows me, Eric, was starting primary school in Nairobi, when Dad had just been moved from Central to be a PS in the office of the president, we had a routine in the morning. We'd wake up and have to be out of the house with Dad by 6:45 at the latest, because his routine was tutaingia gari na yeye, atupeleke paka office of the president, and then we'd now switch. He'd go and start his day. He'd give us his driver, Kenoka, who Mike mentioned earlier. Kenoka was stationed at the office of the president. Kenoka now would take us to St. Mary's, which was our primary school. Do that every day. In the evening, come home, and he was a fitness fanatic, so he would always want to do his exercises. And at some point, he took up squash and used to take us to play with one of his family friends. When we moved to Loresho in the mid-80s, alijenga ka squash court, and his routine in the evenings would be, as soon as he comes in, atakuuliza, Mozu, umemaliza homework? I say, yes. Sasa badilisha nguo, twende tucheze. He'd always want to have that experience of just spending time with family in whatever way we can. And it was actually great for both of us because we were quite competitive. And it's a very weird feeling sometimes when ulikuwa nacheza na your dad, and he's the one who got me into the game, and eventually I was able to outperform him. And it was a very mixed feeling of pride and guilt that I remember going through. But those are memories that I cherish. Why am I saying all this? Because the hard-working element was he would go out, work throughout the whole day, come back in the evening, spend time with his family in whatever little routine he'd get into. And as Angela said, dinner time, family all the time, all day long. Whether he's having a meeting with some business colleagues or some politicians or people in government, walikuwa nakuja nyumbani. He was never out and about, or ameenda kule mkutano Serena or what have you. Everyone was at home because dinner time was dinner time. Na kama wageni wanataka kukaa for dinner, that's fine. But he was at home for dinner with his family. And these are things which you might not necessarily appreciate the importance of, as you're growing up, but it's as you reflect on his life and how you want to conduct your life going forward. Those are the things that are my dearest memories. Not so dear are when things didn't go right. And as Mike mentioned, there were a few of us special ones who the blows were reserved for. And as Ken said, he was not the only one. I can confess I was the other one. And I too can attest to the swiftness of feet and nimbleness and just cunning in terms of positioning you into a place of where you just have to submit. So I've got stories galore which I could get into, but with the wish of not taking up too much time, I just want to conclude by saying that we're grateful for all the love and support that friends and family have shown to Dad over the years, and in these last few days as we take him on his final journey. It's not something that we take for granted, and we're very grateful, as I'm sure Dad is. I just want to say to Dad, who I'm sure is watching over all of us, we know what you were about, Dad, and it was about family unity. And as I said in my tribute in Nairobi, please rest in peace, knowing that we'll not let you down. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, I'm not used to using this. I usually hold it, but please bear with me. Deputy President Dr. William Samoei Ruto, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, all cabinet secretaries, leaders in the government, as well as the leaders who are not in the government but lead this wonderful nation. And most of all, the Kenyan citizens who are all here, including those who are watching on TV. We want to thank you sincerely for being here. This morning, I want to represent the grandchildren of Mzee Simeon Nyachae, also known to us as Sokoro, which is the Abagusi name for grandfather. Can the grandchildren please stand up just so that you can be recognized and appreciated this morning. One of the most beautiful things today is that we all have heard about the fact that we come from a polygamous family, but we all traveled by bus here together as one family. I'm going to be very brief as I just share tribute on behalf of the grandchildren of Mzee Simeon Nyachae. New York Times best-selling author and pastor of one of the largest churches in the world, Dr. Rick Warren said this: "The sum of your habits is your character." It is very easy to become a public success and yet end up a private failure. My grandfather was the same person, all of you who have known him and experienced him personally. He was the same man in public and in private. And there are values that he brought home and he kept consistent in his character and his leadership. The one thing that he not only just shared, but he showed, because leadership is modeled, not just said. He modeled unity to all of us as grandchildren. And even as we grew up in a polygamous family, we have unequivocally, if that's the word I should use, decided, not just now, but long time ago since we were children, that we will stick together. We will support one another. We will be there through thick and thin. And so today, as the grandchildren of a hero, not just a family, but to Kenyans, we make that commitment that we will carry that on to our children and our grandchildren. And the first thing we will do is lead ourselves, because that is the greatest form of leadership. And then number two, lead those who we've been called by God to lead in our areas of influence with all excellence and humility. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My tribute is based on my experiences from seeing my uncles, aunties, and also interacting with my cousins. We see visionaries as heroes. They have the ability to see into the future and predict with uncanny accuracy what lies there, regardless of the outcome they know. They know working hard, consistency, passion, like-minded individuals, a realistic mind, and an idealistic heart would help you achieve anything you set your mind to. Sokoro lived his life with an unapologetic persona that amplified the truth he spoke, the integrity he breathed, and the ferocity to take life at its own game by conquering it. He accepted people for who they are, but inspired the potential to become something more through a disciplinary cane, figuratively and literally. A heart of gold that no matter where you are, his unconditional love would reach you, and when you want to see him, it would sip throughout your entire being. The Dangara people of West Africa believe everyone is born with a purpose, and that purpose must be known in order to ensure an integrated life. People ignorant of their thinking are like ships adrift in the hostile area. A person's purpose is embodied in their name, thus constituting an inseparable reminder of why the person walks with us in this world. Honorable Simeon Nyachae lived up to his name and set a precedent that a legacy is not only attainable, but living an exemplary life filled with love, laughter, music, family, and spiritual nourishment is a gem to your crown. The greatest storyteller I knew in the written and vocal sense. Thank you.
Asante sana. Kwa niaba ya marafiki nitauliza mzee James Mathenge. ajongee mbele kwa dakika moja. Kisha kwa niaba ya kamati ya wazee, the chairman of the Council of Elders, Mzee Matundura, vile vile aje mbele tafadhali. Mzee James Madenge, dakika 2 kwa kifupi tu, kisha mwenyekiti wa kamati ya wazee, Mzee Matundura. Karibu sana.
I salute the President of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and his deputy, Ruto, the former Deputy President, Raila Odinga, Cabinet Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. With my 2 minutes, I can only take a flight on life of this honorable, this great Kenyan. And that is what I want to do. I knew him, first of all, as just somebody working in the civil service. And we are in provincial administration together, and working in different provinces. And when he was brought to Nakuru as a PC, I was posted to him in 1966, Your Excellency, by your father, to assist him, because of that was it was the largest province. And I think your father thought that he had the muscle and the strength to manage such a province, bordering Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, and all the provinces except Northeastern province. It was a gigantic province, and that's where he became a working mate. They started working together. Soon that developed to friendship, and we ended by being brothers. And that's the position I stand here. I'm very conscious we don't have time to talk about Nyachae, because the life history has said it, and we have time constraint. I'm very shy to continue from there. One quick one is, I knew him very clearly as a family person. How he came out, and you have seen for yourselves. I don't need to add to that. A family person, and he gave his family quality time, not left cook to come. He gave it that. So this acquaintance who becomes a friend, he also became a mentor. He mentored those he worked with him, and they are here today, many of them. If they stood there, they will repeat that story. He did that job with distinction. When he made friends, he kept them because he trained them. He therefore kept them. He did not throw his friends about. And from there, of course, we know Nyachae also. That is the civil service. That's the family. And then we know him as a politician. At least if I remember one great thing about Nyachae, is when he told the nation, I'm now changing a career from civil servant to politics. I know what I'm going to find there. I'm aware. Anybody in professional administration knows what to find in politics. One thing I will not be trained with is lies. And he lived up to that. I work, but I'll call the truth the truth. 2 is 2 and 3 is 3, and it cannot be called by other name. And he also lived up to that. So as we mourn Nyachae, as we mourn him, and that's what we have come here to do, as we celebrate the life, that's why we are saying some of the good things he did. I think we should do that with confidence that we lost a good Kenyan, a good husband, a good father, a good grandfather. May God rest him in eternal peace, And may God also keep the family. Charles, you have been commissioned by the church. On first and today, we had you being commissioned that you must face the shoes of Simeon Nyachae in leadership of the family. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, na wote muliomo hapa. Huyu ni Matundura, mwenyekiti wa baraza la wazee hapa Kisii. Nimefaa hivi kwa heshima ya mzee wetu, baba wetu. Alikuwa anapenda utamaduni, na tuliamua kama kanzo hatuwezi kuja hapa na zile nguo zingine, tuje na nguo ya heshima ya mzee, na itakuja endelea hivyo hivyo iwe nguo ya Mkisii, a traditional dress. Katika baraza letu alikuwa patron, na kwa baraza hilo hilo alikuwa na deputy wawili, mmoja akiwa Honorable Jared Kangwana, nafikiri yako hapo nyuma, na vile vile Mzee Steve Omenge. Hao wawili walikuwa deputies wake. Na vile tumekuja hapa leo, tumekuja na baraza la watu wengi ambalo the request walifanya wasimame huko, wafanye hivi kwa mzee baba wetu. Msimame hapo popote mulipo, baraza nzima msimame vizuri. Asante for waving our papa wetu. Kabla niseme la mwisho, kuna mabaraza 17 katika Kenya mzima walituma rambirambi sao kupitia kwangu. Sitataja majina, lakini na nationally tuko na National Elders Council ambaye anaongozwa na Faris Rutere wakisaidiana na Captain Kungu Muigai. Waliniambia nilete rambirambi sao kwa familia. Kwa hivyo country mzima inahusika na mambo haya kupitia mabaraza yetu. Ya mwisho, papa wetu huyu ametuachia a lot of message. Kitu moja alituachia, Wakisii muungane muwe kitu kimoja. Hiyo alisema, akarudia tuwe pamoja. Na tukiwa pamoja tuheshimiane na tuheshimu majirani wetu. Hiyo ilikuwa inatoka mdomo wake. Na ikiwa alikuwa na dictionary, kuambia ukweli, dictionary yake haikukuwa na neno corruption. Nafikiri hiyo hata hakujua maana yake. Corruption, hiyo ni kitu alikuwa na kemea kabisa, hakutaka hata kujua maana yake ni nini. Na hiyo tuko naye. Kwa hivyo kumalizia, tunataka jamii yetu Mungu aisimamie, Mungu ailinde, Mungu awasaidie kwa kila njia ile inawezekana. Na baraza letu wachukue yale yote mzee alituambia, tuyaangalie kwa makini, tuendelee naye, itasaidia jamii ya Wakisii kabisa. Nitawachia hapo kwa sababu naona muda ni mfupi, lakini natoa shukrani kwa national government vile ilionelea baraza letu liko na nafasi ndogo ya kusema hata neno moja mbili kwa mzee. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru kabisa. Asante.
Nafasi hii nitamwalika mama yetu, Mama Grace Nyachae, ili naye kwa dakika chache atoe ujumbe wake. Karibu mama.
Asante Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga. I see you as family friends, so sometimes it's very difficult even to address you officially because you are family. I'll speak on behalf of myself and the Mama Nyandusi. She was a bit sad, and so she has walked out. What our children have said this afternoon, I cannot repeat because they just confirm what us as mothers know about Mzee. His love for his children, his love for us. And so I don't want to repeat it. It's also nice to know that when they were being disciplined and being boxed, they took it well, in a very, very, in a nice way. For me, standing here is by the grace of God. I didn't know that I would have this strength. But I thank God it's the support we have received, not only for the last couple of days since Mzee left us, but throughout his illness, and particularly the last 3 years, which have been very, very tough. I just want to say thank you for each one of you. But please allow me to single out His Excellency the President. You may not, because you are very busy, you may not remember. In April 2018, when Mzee was in the ICU in Cromwell Hospital, you had a very short time in London, but you came to see him in the ICU. Amazingly, after you visited him, he was very excited. It's like your visit was medicine to him. Within a week, he was out of that ICU. Thank you very, very, very much. I want also to say thank you. I know it is not my part to pass a vote of thanks, but I would like to say thank you very much. The way you have personally committed yourself to give Mzee such a befitting farewell. I want to tell you the people you delegated this to. CS Matiang is here. And indeed, all the officials of the government, they have done us really great thing. And so even as we mourned and as we grieved, we do not have to worry about these other details. We are very, very grateful. Let me say this. I would ask the young men, and not so young, invest in your wives. If you have not invested in your wife, please invest. Mzee invested so much, so heavily in me. When we say for better or worse, the better for me was much longer than for worse. When it became necessary for me to serve him, I had no reservation. I was ready to look after Mzee because over the years, he had invested in me, he had loved me so deeply, and for better was so long. And so, when it became necessary, I was there available. It's a serious thing because if you don't invest in your wife, when your time of need comes, it's like, pahali ulikuwa, wacha wakuchunge. I really thank God for having that opportunity and privilege to look after Mzee. And I do believe that Mzee left us knowing that we loved him, not only as a wife, but as a family. And for me, even though I was not tired looking after him, I could have given anything to look after Mzee and have him a little bit longer. But I believe God's plan, as Mzee always reminded me, God knows the plan he has for each one of us. And I believe this was the plan. It wasn't, we had seen worse times when he was not well. We were not prepared, we didn't foresee this. But I just want to say I thank God for Mzee, I thank him for his life. he lived a good life. When people say that someone lived a good life, he did. And though he struggled towards the end, we should not focus only on the negatives, but focus on the good things. As I finish, let me say, Mama Nyandusi, Mama Charles, as she left, she told me to remember what she said yesterday, that her and myself, we are together. We have never had to answer each other, and we are not going to do it in the absence of Mzee. And so our children, we expect you to get on board. We are not that young, I'm not that young. Be with us and support us as we move forward, and particularly to keep this legacy of Mzee who put us together. Thank you very much. And as I finish, let me say I miss Mzee very much, but I know he is definitely in a better place. And one day, as the church says, on that resurrection day, we will be together and live together eternally. May God bless you all.
Asante sana. Nafasi hii ningependa kumwalika waziri wa masuala ya ndani na mipango ya kitaifa, Daktari Fred Matiang'i, atuongoze kwa kipindi kinachosalia. Karibu waziri.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, the honorable national leaders who are here, I am confronted with a very difficult situation, and I am going to be very frank with all of us. As a nation, today, we woke up to an interesting day. We are struck by another tragedy. We lost Mzee Yusuf Haji yesterday. And the Senator Haji's funeral is at 3 o'clock this afternoon, you know, according to the traditions of the Muslim faith. A good number of our national leaders who are here are also headed that direction. The Speaker of the Senate is here. The Senate is going that direction. His Excellency, our President, is also headed that direction. I'm going to plead with you, my brothers and sisters, because of the respect and love we have for our Mzee. And there's so much to say about that today, that we carry each other's burdens at this point in time. We make some brief remarks so that we can allow His Excellency the Deputy President and His Excellency the President to condole with the family. So at this point, with a lot of challenges, I am going to invite a few national leaders, but before then I will invite our governor to welcome us and speak on behalf of the leaders of Gusii, and introduce his colleagues who are here, fellow elected leaders and other governors, before I call upon a few national leaders to make some brief remarks before I turn it over to His Excellency the Deputy President. I believe in the circumstances we find ourselves, we will graciously carry each other's burdens. So, my brother, Governor James Ongwae.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, all the political leaders present, all the public servants present, my brothers and sisters from Gusii, both Kisii and Nyamira, and all Kenyans who have come here, we are gathered here to honor our departed son, and I'm standing here on behalf of my chairman of the Council of Governors, Honorable Martin Nyaga Wambora, who was in charge with us in Nairobi. I happen to be his deputy chair, and I'm going to speak on behalf of all the 47 county governments But before I do that, kindly allow me to do a few introductions. My brother here has talked about the tragedy that this nation has got this morning. So the Kisii leaders present, I hope you do understand about this, and we must carry that burden. I will therefore ask all the members of the County Assembly present, can you please stand and wave to the family? Whether you are from Kisii or Nyamira, please stand, including your speakers, please. Thank you very much. Please be seated. I will ask all the members of Parliament that are here, both from Kisii and from outside Kisii, members of Parliament, and I mean here I start with National Assembly because Parliament is made up of National Assembly and Senate. I start with the National Assembly. The MPs who are here, if you can all stand, please. As you can see, you are very many, and because of time, I would urge you, all of you, to just wave and please sit. Thank you very much, Onyonka, Jimmy, and all of you who are here, who are great friends to Nyachae. I hope you do understand. I would ask the senators present, led by Mzee, Professor, Ambassador Sam Kegengo Ongeri, to please stand. Thank you very much. If you can please wave. Thank you very much. The governors who are here, governors, I know that you are about 4 or 5 of you who are here, please stand. If you allow me very quickly, please allow me to introduce the governors. We have our Chair Emeritus, the Governor for Kakamega, Honorable Wycliffe Ambessa Oparanya. We have the Governor for Nyamira, Honorable Amos Nyaribo. We have the Governor for Kakamega, for Bungoma, sorry, Honorable Wycliffe Wangambati. We have the Governor for Makueni, Honorable Kivutha Kibwana. And we have the Governor for the great city of London, of Kisumu, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. And of course, before I forget, my wife Elizabeth, otherwise I will suffer the fate of what Grace said here. Elizabeth, are you around here? Can you please stand? So that I don't suffer that fate. Your Excellency, it's very painful for these Kisii leaders because this was their day, but nobody planned that what happened to our great man from Northeastern was going to happen this morning, and I do hope that they all understand that, and it's quite a great distance. Your Excellency, allow me to read the speech of the Council of Governors. We thank you all here today. We have come to pay, all of us, we have come to pay our last respects to a father figure to many, to others a big brother, and to many more a mentor. Mzee was a leader who found inspiration in his accomplishments, a civil servant of repute, a political leader who championed the unity of the nation and his people, a successful entrepreneur whose vast business is spread across the country, offering employment to many. Most of all, a family man whose legacy has been evident here today. Mzee was selfless and a nationalist. He saw the transformation of the White Island estates into indigenous hands through a policy that favored both the large-scale farmer and the small farmer. Actually, as a provincial commissioner in the Rift Valley,
and also around the same time as the chairman of the Wheat Board of Kenya and of the National Cereals and Produce Board. These policies contributed immensely to Kenya's economic growth, promoting business, agricultural and rural development with far-reaching success to the country. He personified loyalty and worked to support the interests of the presidency served. Indeed, under the late President Moi's administration, he understood President Moi's desire for better distribution of resources to the regions. As the Chief Secretary, he worked with the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Planning to initiate the District Focus for Rural Development in the mid-80s through the policy, financial authority, and responsibility that was distributed to the district councils, which, as we all know, the policy of the District Focus for Rural Development. We take pride that the son of Musa Nyandusi, also a powerful colonial chief, set the pace for devolved governance, providing a framework to which our constitution is heavily borrowed. Indeed, in politics, he was known for his famous slogan, "Ford people watu wengi sana," a saying that displayed his art to accommodate people from all walks of life. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Council of Governors and all the 47 county governments, we are here to give Mzee a dignified send-off. We learn and draw inspiration from Simeon Nyachae's character, his dedication to public service, and his devotion to family. Allow me to finish my remarks by paraphrasing the words from the Bible in 2 Timothy 4:7. He has fought the good fight, he has finished the race, and remained faithful. I extend a warm invitation, even with this problem, to all of you to take a moment after the burial to appreciate this land that produced this great son of Kenya, the land of Matoke, that embodies the ideals of Mzee, which Mzee stood for, that of hard work, resilience, and passion. Fare thee well, son of Mzee Nyandusi. Thank you, and God bless you all. May you all be blessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I take this opportunity on behalf of KANU to invite Senator Gideon Moi, the KANU leader, to make very brief remarks. Senator, please.
His Excellency the President, the Deputy President, the family of Mzee Nyachae, my colleagues in the National Assembly and the Senate, I'll be very, very brief. It was not a must that I speak, but it was a must that I be here. Mzee Nyachae and my father and our family have a long and rich history. So today, when it's the day that we are resting Mzee, it's important that we reflect on his life. We've had a personal experience with him. He was a man of great character, intelligent man, loyal man, determined man. We will miss him. And he was a loving father. I remember when he used to come home, what struck you was his sternness. I've heard that he was a disciplinarian, that he was, but his intelligence and his quiet intelligence and his loyalty. It's difficult nowadays to find people of that character. But ladies and gentlemen, there is something which I think if we have to learn from Mzee Nyachae, is that to be successful, to reach the pinnacle of your career in personal and business, you do not have to steal. You do not have to cut shortcuts. If you have a doubt, look at his life. He reached the pinnacle by sheer hard work, determination, and intelligence. Simple as that. We salute him. Fare thee well, our great leader, our father. Asante.
The Honorable Vice President Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka.
Mr. President, Mr. Deputy President, fellow leaders, and the Nyachae family, Mama Grace, Mama Martha, fellow mourners, like Gideon has just said, I really didn't have to speak, but I had to come. Korera zangu wa Kisii, Mbiamweri. Sasa nilisema tulipokuwa Nairobi kwamba huyu mzee alikuwa na roho safi sana. And we miss him. When I first was face to face with Mzee Simeon Nyachae, I had just been appointed an assistant minister by Mzee Moi, actually on the Fool's Day, so I thought I was being fooled. And Mzee Nyachae then was the chief secretary. He was the one who was to swear me in as perhaps the youngest assistant minister. But I didn't know that, Your Excellency, to go to State House, you don't drive pickups there. So I drove myself in a pickup. And that is a product of Sekuru. And when I got to State House, after swearing in, I explained to Mzee Nyachae that this is how I came. He took pity on me and actually gave me a lift, I think in his famous Mercedes that was mentioned earlier on. And I felt completely appreciated. Later on, of course, we had to join together with him in cabinet as a Minister for Agriculture, very authoritative. And of course, as the Chief Secretary also that time, he did quite a lot to create the precursor to devolution, rural strategy, the strategy for rural development. And so we honor him, and we appreciate that God gave Mzee Nyachae to us. But there was also the Christian aspect of Mzee Nyachae. Mama Grace, you remember, I'm quite sure people like Sam Owen, if they are not here, they were definitely in Nairobi. That network of friends would just meet and pray for each other. So Mzee Nyachae was a believer, and we thank God for that. I know that David Musila, I'll be very surprised if he's not here because we didn't speak before he came. And I know that that type of wazir, when there are great difficulties facing individuals like us, it was people like David Musila, Mzee Nyachae would sit and give us comfort. Therefore, I hope, Mama Grace, you will not forget to prepare the famous banana cake at 4 o'clock. We will keep on coming. And it is Lee Nyachae who has always was my guide to that family. And so as we mourn even Mzee Yusuf Haji, we celebrate meritorious leaders like Mzee Yusuf Haji, Mzee Simeon Nyachae. I will not talk politics, but Brother Raila will remember, 10 o'clock in the morning, outside Serena, we signed with Mzee Nyachae the coalition agreement before NAC. That was Senior Counsel Paul Mwite, the late Kiliku, and Mzee Nyachae. In the afternoon, we all know what happened, Kibaki Tosha, and then Kikaumana. Kilipaumana, nothing can clear from our image the fact that we are here to bury a real patriot, a national leader. And may God rest his soul in eternal peace.
It's okay, it's understandable. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President, William Ruto, the Nyachae family, my friend Raila Odinga, and indeed the friends of Nyachae. Mine will be very brief. First of all, let me also take this opportunity to, as we condole Mzee Nyachae, to also convey my sincere condolences to the Haji family. A few days ago in the church, I said this month of February seems to be a menace in our society. I did indicate that Nyachae passed away on the 1st of February. His friend Mzee Moi died on the 4th of February. His other friend Mudavadi died on the 7th of February. And I said, I hope February does not take anybody else. Little did we know that Haji would also follow. But who was Nyachae? A great public servant. He was a chief secretary, but he never proclaimed himself as the chief secretary. You felt it. You just felt it. Kuna watu wengine katika Kenya hii, he must remind you, mimi ni waziri, mimi ni governor, mimi ni PC, mimi ni nani. But this guy, he just moved and you felt it. In fact, the other day I said, this is a fellow whom ministers even called Sir. And it was rumored that when he was chief secretary and he called a PC or permanent secretary, even though he's not in that room with the PS or the PC, it is rumored that the PC would stand to speak to him on phone because he was not sure whether he's watching him. This was the man called Nyachae. Finally, he held his head high. He knew how to hold secrets. He knew how to keep the integrity of the public service. The integrity of the public service. He did symbolize the integrity and sanctity of the public service, which is the civil service. This is Simeon Nyachae. My final parting word is that when I was Minister for Finance and he was Minister for Agriculture, I commissioned the Price Waterhouse audit report on the notorious golden bag scandal in this country. In that report, there were damning issues. But before I could present it to His Excellency the President, he actually told me, go and share it with Simeon Nyachae. So I went to Simeon Nyachae's house, Mama Grace's house, and we went through that document. After that, I knew I had an ally. And when we went to cabinet, the decision to close the windows and the vichorochoros of Goldenberg was made. This man contributed immensely to the well-being of Kenya. May his soul rest in eternal peace. To the Abugusi, you gave us a good son. To the Grace and the Nyachae family, you lend us a very good patriotic father and Kenyan citizen. To the people of Kenya, we have lost, in particularly the civil service fraternity, you have lost a great compatriot. To Kenya, we have lost a great son. Mungu awalinde nyinyi nyote. Asanteni.
Your Excellency, with humility, may I invite former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, to make his remarks.
The family friend Mzee Nyachae, Excellency the President, all protocols observed. Abagusi Mbuyamuri, amjambo yote. As I said in the church the other time, we have come to mourn a great Kenyan. Simeon Nyachae, by all accounts, and everything that has been said about him, was a great Kenyan and a great human being. I explained that at a time the relationship between the late Musa Nyandusi's family and the family of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. We are family, and I've explained how I first came to Nyosia in 1954 when I was a small boy, the home of the late Paramount Chief Musa Nyandusi. He was a great friend of Jaramogi, and therefore we are a family. I have had occasion to have long discussions with Simeon, together with our late friend, the late Job Omino. And through those discussions, we shared a lot with Nyachae. Nyachae is somebody who was schooled in the tradition of the British civil service, which basically promotes excellency and correctness in service of the people. He served at a time when there was a transition from the colonial system of administration that we had inherited to ours. And that was the time when some of you may know the Ndegwa Commission report had been published, which has allowed civil servants to be engaged in business, private business. So whatever Nyachae did at that time was fairly legal because it was allowed by the government at that time. It was not any kind of corrupt practice. Civil servants were officially allowed to engage in private practice, private businesses. But apart from that, Nyachae excelled as an administrator and eventually as in the main civil service, as a permanent secretary, and finally as a cabinet minister. And as a cabinet minister, of course, a lot has been said already about him. Then when he resigned as a minister of finance, we were now with him in the backbenches. And then when eventually we formed the Rainbow Coalition, the Rainbow Alliance, he had already started 4 people. And then we came together, 4 people and LDP, which had formed, and formed the National Rainbow Coalition. And the Rainbow Coalition then teamed up with NAK of Mwai Kibaki, Wamalwa Kijana, and Charity Ngilu to form the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. As Kalonzo has said, we had lengthy negotiations at Serena Hotel. Courtesy Kalonzo, who was then Minister for Tourism, although he had resigned. And then I put the question, we want to come out of this meeting with one candidate, because Kanu was at Kasarani and knew that we were going to come out with Uhuru Kenyatta as a candidate. So I told them, let us agree that we can only have one candidate. So as they announced the candidate there, we also announced ours here at Uhuru Park. Nobody was willing to budge. I said, I'm pulling out myself. Who follows me? Nobody was ready to follow me. And that's why when we went to Uhuru Park and I had the last word, I said, Kibaki Tosha. Of course, it did not go down well with my brother. But we later on discussed it. And I told him, it was just going to be you and me. And it was not going to work because others were not going to come with us. And we became friends again. Eventually, we served in the same cabinet with Simon when he came in as a minister, first minister for energy in the same government. And we were working very closely together. I remember there's one time when I had a problem. We had this road called Kisii-Chemosit Road, which had not been constructed for a long time. Every election time, a contractor would be appointed. When elections are over, it would be withdrawn. So when I came as Minister for Roads, I put my my Chief Engineer Roads, the late Barnabas Ariga. And I told him, we appoint a contractor and I receive a progress report on a monthly basis. And it was done and completed, the branch to Nyamira town. When I came to Nyamira town, the people told me, we have a tarmac out to town. But for us to go to the provincial headquarters, you have to go all the way through Kisii, around the Yugis, back to Kisumu. Yet from here to center, just about 20 kilometers. So then I went to the cabinet memo, to the cabinets, because the contractor had agreed to maintain the same rates to do the 20 kilometers, Nyamira to center. Then, when I presented this, it was opposed by other several ministers. But Nyachae stood by me and said, Mr. President, it is always possible, it's always done in government. So long as the contractor agrees to maintain the same rates, it is price is going to be cheaper than if you have to go and re-advertise again. Kibaki had a lot of respect for Nyachae. So he said, sawa sawa. That's how I was given a go-ahead to do Nyamira to center, because of Simeon Nyachae. Today, it's not politics, but I can say BBI. Thank you.
All right. I suggest we're coming to the end. I'm soon going to hand it over to His Excellency, the Deputy President. But the Speaker of the Senate is here, Honorable Ken Lusaka. I would request you kindly for 1 minute.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, former Prime Minister, distinguished mourners, abagusina abakwani dembuya mure mwenzi, mweneno mogoko. Mimi nimekuja hapa Mheshimiwa Rais, familia, kulia mzee Nyachae, kwa sababu hapa ndio nilianzia safari yangu ya kuwa dio kule Keumbu. Nilikuwa dio wakati wa mzee Nyachae. He had just come from the public service. Na hatukutreat yeye vizuri sana. Lakini siku moja nikaambiwa, despite all that, kwamba President Moi alikuwa anakuja breakfast kwake, nikaona vitu vichenjanga, vitu imebadilika. Nikaenda kwake, akaniambia, young man, I know haukuwa wewe. I was a dio and I know where this was coming from. Kwa hivyo wewe fanya kazi yako, nimekusamea, but one thing that I want to advise you, kwamba in public service ukiwa dio, respect your seniors and you will go far. You can see where I have reached. I'm now the Speaker of the Senate, courtesy of the advice I got from the late Mzee Simeon Nyachae. For the people, family kama wakina Mike, Charles, we work together very well. May Mzee rest in peace, na tunajua hiyo ndio njia yetu, siku moja tutakuja kukutana. Asanteni sana.
Now, Your Excellency, we have come to the end of this phase of the program. Before I invite the Deputy President, because as a matter of protocol, when His Excellency the President speaks, no one will speak after that. I would like to welcome Charles Nyachae to speak on behalf of the family and move a vote of thanks before I invite the Deputy President to welcome the President. Charles.
Your Excellency the President, Your Excellency the Deputy President, Your Excellency the Honorable Prime Minister, viongozi wote ambao mmefika hapa siku ya leo, wale wote mmekuja kutufariji na kuwa nasi wakati tunasindikisha mzee wetu kwa safari hii ya mwisho. Naomba niwasalimie kwanza, hamjambo. Mintombi ya mure. Biamono gakina ande nda basabe asa maskanya manene. Asa maskanya manene. Twali wancha togendere program yebunere. Bali mwale okwana nto baigwete. Lakini tuanchire ekiara ni mayete nane ko batebinde buna omwaka banchete na iruna mwa musigete. Kamoranche tigatokore program ye asenchera ya maskani. Your Excellency, before I move a vote of thanks, allow me in just a few minutes to read a personal tribute to Dad. Dad, it is time to say goodbye. But then again, because we are people of faith, it is not a final goodbye. We believe that we shall be reunited before God's throne on that resurrection morning. Like the Apostle Paul in his second letter to Timothy, you have finished the race, you have fought the good fight, and you have kept the faith. And what a life it has been. I thank God for having given you to me as my father. From you, I have learned much. You taught us by example to accord respect and dignity to everybody, irrespective of their socioeconomic status. Courage has been one of your greatest virtues. You always courageously stood for what you believed in, even against all odds. I recall when I was chairperson of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, many times doing my job properly required rubbing the establishment the wrong way. When this happened, and depending on the perspective of the person speaking, people would say, he is courageous like his father. Or they would say, huyu ana kichwa ngumu kama baba yake. Either way, I was proud to be associated to that virtue of yours. Dad, again by example, you taught us generosity. You always reminded us to acknowledge God's blessings, and you, in turn, shared those blessings widely. Time without number, I have met people who I didn't know previously, and they have said to me, without your father, I would not be what I am today. There is so much more, Dad, that I learned from you, values and virtues I observed throughout my life, and which I, and I am sure my siblings, will endeavor to emulate. Dad, in your last few years, you have struggled stoically with a deteriorating health situation. For me, it has been painful and traumatic to watch my strong, active, and independent father lose his strength, become largely inactive, and also become dependent. Even after the over 2 years, it remained a major challenge for me to mentally reconcile with the sight of you on a wheelchair, your mobility severely compromised. Through this situation, however, God, in his infinite goodness, provided a unique opportunity for you and I. In that period, we had the opportunity to talk on a one-to-one many times. In these conversations, you told me many things. Indeed, you poured your heart out to me in a manner I would not previously have thought possible. I felt you speak to me, not just as your eldest son, but as a close and trusted friend. I will forever cherish that opportunity and experience. There are things that you shared with me that I will take to the grave with me. Many other things that you shared will be of immense assistance to me as your son going forward. Dad, as we lay you to rest today, I want to promise you that I will do my part towards your family remaining as you had built it and as you would like it to remain. God chose to call you home on my birthday. I believe that in the fullness of time, he will reveal to me the significance of that. For the rest of my life, I will celebrate you and your life as I mark the birth that you gave to me. On that, your last day on earth, a few hours before you gave up the spirit, I stood beside your hospital bed with my wife Jane, and we prayed. I spoke to you and I said, Dad, whatever happens, it shall be well. Well now, Dad, it is well. Tata, it is well. Thank you. Let me begin the vote of thanks by acknowledging and thanking all the medical personnel that attended to Dad throughout the period that he has been unwell. In the UK, Dr. Stephen Manga and the set of doctors and hospital staff looked after Dad, and we are grateful to them. In Nairobi, Dr. Robert Mathenge, together with his team of doctors and together also with the management and staff of the Nairobi Hospital, we want to appreciate them for all that they have done for Dad right up to the minute that he rested within the Nairobi Hospital. We want to thank and appreciate the nurses and caregivers, both within the hospitals and at home, and those provided by Pinnacle, who have been with Dad for the last couple of years. So, all the medical personnel, I may not have mentioned you in person, but please accept our appreciation. Your Excellency the President, as a family, we thank you and we appreciate you. You have, from the time that Dad rested, you have been greatly concerned. You gave instructions for us to receive support, which we have received from the government of Kenya. And I want, as I thank you, I want to appreciate my brother, who is also your cabinet secretary, the Honorable Dr. Fred Matiang'i, to whom you gave instructions, and who has carried out these instructions and ensured that we have received all that we have received from the state. We want to thank you very much, Your Excellency. Having said that, Your Excellency, and having addressed you in that capacity of my president, allow me also to now address you as my brother. Because I want, on behalf of our family, to appreciate your family through you. The reason I do this is because right up to the last minute, Dad never tired of telling us what the late President Jomo Kenyatta had done for him, how the late President was actually a mentor and a father to him, how he held his hand on so many issues, some of which, Your Excellency, I shared with you when you came to visit at home last week. So without going into too many details, I want to request that the Kenyatta family, and particularly your mother, Her Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta, who Dad also regarded as a mother, that you pass on our appreciation, and we trust that as families, what our parents started, we shall continue. Your Excellency, the Deputy President, I want to thank you and appreciate you as a friend of our family. You have your own history, Namze, and you came home to condole with us. And I want to thank you for your moral support and the personal material support that we have received from you. Thank you, sir, for your friendship. Because I cannot speak or address every single leader, I want to appreciate, on behalf of our family, all the leaders here present and those who have not been able to come today, those who worked with Dad, like the Speaker of the Senate and others. The Honorable Prime Minister has referred to how they worked in the political environment. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, and there are many, many people who worked with Dad. I want you to accept our thanks and appreciation as if I gave it to you individually. Thank you to all those leaders who, from the time that Dad rested, who have come home to condole with us. Thank you very much to the Gusii leaders, His Excellency the Governor of Kisii, Omoaka, Professor Ongeri, my senator, my Member of Parliament, the Honorable Richard Tongi, and basically all the Gusii members of Parliament and all those leaders. We want you to know that we thank you and we appreciate you for all the support that you have given us since this happened. We want to acknowledge and say our thanks to all the religious leaders. Some are here, some may not be here, who, first of all, have been Dad's friends over a period of time. Secondly, they have visited and prayed while Dad was unwell but was still alive. And thirdly, those who have visited and condoled with us since Dad's passing. Again, forgive me if I don't remember all of them, but I want to refer particularly to the entire leadership of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who have, as I say, been with us when Dad was unwell, and also since he rested. I want to thank you very much. Your Grace, the Bishop of Kisii, I want to thank you for your prayers, for your support, and I know that among the people who are hurting most for the loss of Dad, because he was your personal friend, I know ni wewe Baba Askofu. Nakushukuru sana. Other leaders that came and condoled with us, and I want to acknowledge them, Bishop Oscar of the Nairobi Chapel, Pastor Jaoko, who is here, and I also want to acknowledge Bishop Kefa Omai, Pastor Ayonga Robert, and my friend Father Mugunda, all of whom came to condole with us, and all other religious leaders who I may not have mentioned. Dad's friends, there are too many for me to refer to. One or two of them have been up here, and I trust they will understand that they were not all able to speak. Mzee James Madenge, Mzee Mheshimiwa Senator David Musila, Mr. John Simba. Now, wengi sana, those are just representatives of Mzee's friends. We want to thank you, Bill Mayaka, and many others. I better not start trying to name them. Thank you, and thank you again for your friendship to Dad, and thank you for rising to the occasion to be with us and to condole with us since this happened. I have been speaking on behalf of our family to those that I have mentioned. I want to now, as children of my late father, I want to address our mothers. And I want to address them in appreciating them. My mother, I think, has stepped out, but Mongina Grace is here on behalf of them. I want, on behalf of us, your children, to thank you very much for having looked after Mzee, first of all these years. Because it is because our mothers looked after Dad and gave him an easy environment that he was able to bring us up. He was able to, that family time that was referred to, was able to be a positive energy. And because of our mothers, we were able, despite us being a polygamous setup, we were able to be brought up as one family. So I appreciate our mothers. Mongina Grace, let me appreciate you in a very specific way for the last 3 years that you have looked after Dad. It was a full-time job. It was a difficult job. With all his virtues, and there were many, even when his health was good, Dad was not an easy person to deal with. So you can imagine, he was already not an easy person, and when he's well, that is a virtue. You can now imagine when he is unwell, frustrated. So, Omongina, you have done an excellent job. We appreciate you, and I'm sure Dad, wherever he is, appreciates you. Nikienda kumaliza. Sorry. Finally, and most importantly, we want to appreciate God Almighty. the God that has given my father the 89 years short of 5 days that he lived, the God that has given my father the successes that he has had, whether in public life, whether in family life, and the God who has called him home now, and in whom we trust that Dad is in his hands. We want to appreciate, we want to thank God. CS, it's okay, but as I go to sit, except my voice inaenda kidogo, I am determined ipotere estanza yemo yokai. Mwanjire totere estanza yemo. Na tokore e mere moya Nyasaye ere. Na tokwane amangana amaya. E mere moge koera na togende igoro. Ga korangelia marieta nimbeo. Ga korangelia marieta. Ga korangelia marieta. Ga korangelia marieta. Ga korangelia marieta nimbeo. Nyasawa sasa mwenye.
Finally, the leader of majority in the Senate and the leader of majority in the National Assembly, the Honorable Senator Pogisho and the Honorable Kimunya are here. Please, if you could kindly stand up and wave. Thank you. Abantu Minto, we had a good plan. We had planned how Honorable Richard Tongi was going to speak, the Member of Parliament for Nyaribari Chache, on behalf of all members of Parliament. How Morako Ito, Professor Sam Mongeri was going to speak on behalf of the senators, Nabaraka Bonsbagusi in public leadership. How Mongena Janet was going to speak to us. Lakini bono, tuensi gotuanyo oranga, tuasoira bokongubo, sengenjo mogambi kuikagende. Nonye ninche because of that, tindi ujugo kwana, eso oko manene buensa masikani, elinda ikere birubyu mogako urionde, oko ene kuchinza kianda. Abantu baminto, tole merani, omogako yotoko ene nabata getomenyiga, tuanja kabogolere ni mesige ngenche kabirengamneye, nalitora sukia abantu baitobosio. Your Excellency, the Deputy President.
Asante. Asante sana. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Mama Martha and Mama Grace and the entire family of Mzee Simeon Nyachae, Your Graces, Bishop and pastors present, all my colleague leaders, na watu wote wa Kisii, abantu baminto mbuyamore, mbuyamore naende. Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi nitakuwa mfupi. Kwanza, naleta rambirambi za familia yangu na watoto kwa familia ya mzee baba wetu Simeon Nyachae. And as we mourn the departure of Mzee Nyachae, we equally celebrate a great patriotic Kenyan, a consummate administrator and public servant, an astute businessman, a brave and courageous politician, and a a loving, strict, but also forgiving father and father figure. Despite the differences in age between me and Mzee Nyachae, as Charles has said, we had a relationship. And Michael, when he read Mzee's eulogy, he mentioned that Mzee was a very strict person. And occasionally, he took out the cane and straightened people. Michael did not mention the list of people who became either victims or beneficiaries of Mzee Nyachae's cane, because he ran the risk of including me in that list. And I think it's an appropriate moment for a confession that apart from the blows and the other measures that were meted on his immediate family, those of us he found in politics, he also did not spare us. He made sure that we walked the straight and the narrow. I remember very well in Nyamarambe, Omingo Magara and myself misbehaved. And Michael did not say, because he is actually the person Mzee Nyachae sent to go and collect the cane. Na hapo tulipata kuadhibiwa. But I also say Mzee Nyachae was loving and forgiving. I remember subsequently, we looked for him, Omingo and myself, and he was very gracious. He did not tell us to go to the office. He asked us to go home. And Mama Grace here is a witness. And we went and asked for forgiveness from Mzee, and he was a gracious mentor and father. Subsequently, I remember again, we went, and Grace was again our host as we went to see Mzee Nyachae with President Uhuru Kenyatta. That time in 2013, 2012, we had many problems. And Mzee Nyachae gave us worthy counsel. And he encouraged us as a father figure. That is despite the fact that we hadn't supported him when he ran for president. But when we went to seek for his counsel and support, he graciously agreed to support President Uhuru Kenyatta. And we are eternally grateful to him and to his family. Finally, as Mzee Nyachae rests, he speaks to us, and he speaks to us loudly. Looking at his life, he had the option of waiting to share what his father Mzee Nyandusi had. But he chose a different route, that instead of waiting to share what was there, he decided to create more. And that is why, with a humble posho mill, with a small bakery, he built a huge business empire that not only created opportunity, it created wealth, and it created jobs. And that is the lesson that Mzee Nyachae in this casket is giving to us as the people of Kenya that yes, we can wait to share, but it's much more important if we roll up our sleeves, tighten up our belts, pull up our socks, and create. Without further ado, it's now my very humble duty to request His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, to come and make his remarks. Your Excellency, sir.
Asanteni sana. Kwa heshima nauliza tuketi. Mama Martha, Mama Grace, jamii yote ya marehemu mzee wetu Simeon Nyachae wakiongozwa hapa na Charles, viongozi na waombolezaji wote ambao wamefika. Mimi niko hapa kwanza kama rais kutoa rambirambi zangu na kutoa rambirambi kwa familia kwa niaba ya mamilioni ya Wakenya ambao hawangekuwa pamoja nasi sisi wote hapa, kwa familia ya mwenda zake mzee wetu, baba yetu Simeon Nyachae. Ya pili, niko hapa kibinafsi kwa niaba yangu na kwa niaba ya familia yangu kuungana pamoja na familia ya mzee Nyachae kuomboleza pamoja na wao na kuwaambia ya kwamba muko katika maombi yetu kama marafiki, kama jamii ambazo zimekuwa pamoja. Poleni kwa niaba yangu, poleni kwa niaba ya familia yangu, na mpokee hizo rambirambi kutoka kwetu. La tatu, tuko hapa kuungana pamoja na familia na Wakenya wote kusherehekea maisha ya huyu mzee ambaye amelala hapa mbele yetu. Mzee ambaye amejitolea kwa hali na mali kutoka utoto wake mpaka kwa uzee, mpaka akashindwa kwa sababu ya ugonjwa, lakini akajitolea kufanyia taifa lake kazi, na ni mengi ambayo tuko naye katika taifa letu leo ambalo tukiangalia nyuma tuliletewa kwa sababu ya juhudi ya huyu mzee ambaye amelala hapa. Tumshukuru na hatuwezi tumsahau. Mimi kwangu mzee tumejuana miaka mingi kutoka utoto wangu, na mashauri mengi amenipatia mpaka pahali ambapo nimefika. Siwezi nikasahau. Na nataka niwaambie jamii ya kwamba hata tukiendelea mbele, vile mzee amenishika mkono, mimi pia niko tayari kuwashika mkono, tuendelee safari hii pamoja nanyi. He was a disciplined man, and I liked the person mzee ambaye ametukumbusha the most important thing. He was an honest man and a man of dignity. And without doubt, he was a disciplinarian. But not only in disciplining others, but the discipline within which he carried himself. What he expected of others is what he expected from himself. So it's not that he was out there saying, wewe fanya. What he was saying you do is how he lived his own life. And I think that is a very important message to take home. That we were not here to talk about somebody who used to talk at people and do the opposite. No. What he told us to do, he himself did. And that is the manner in which he lived his life. Kwa hivyo, siku ya leo, mimi sio siku ya kunena. Ni siku ya kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa maisha ya huyu mzee. Ni siku ya kushirikiana na familia, kuomboleza pamoja, kusimama pamoja nanyi na kuwaambia ya kwamba mko katika maombi yetu na tutaendelea kushirikiana kwa mambo yote ambaye yatakuwa mbele yetu. Mbele ya nisome, kwa sababu ningependa tu kusoma kidogo hapa. Kuna kitu kimoja tu leo nimejifahamisha na ni vizuri niseme, kwa sababu hata kama najuana sana sana na vijana wake wote, haswa wale ya marika yangu. Kuna moja, wakati tulikuwa vijana, tulikuwa tunatembea huko na huku, anaitwa Ken, ako hapa. Na nilikuwa najiuliza siku hizo tukiwa vijana, huyu mtu mkienda pahali sasa mambo iwe moto kidogo huko, anachemuka haraka haraka, akishindwa na ya kusema, ngumi zimekunjwa tayari. Lakini sasa najua hiyo mambo ilitokea wapi. Ni zile hapa kaa tulikuwa unagonga gongwa nyumbani. Ndio ulikuwa unakuja kujaribu kutuletea. Sasa nimejua. Nimejua. Lakini sasa tumetulia, tumezeeka jameni. Tumezeeka. So, fellow mourners, it is with immense grief and deep sense of personal sadness that I learned of the death of Mzee Simeon Nyachae. And in this moment of great loss and sorrow, my family and I convey our deepest condolences and words of encouragement to the family, relatives, and friends of the late Mzee Nyachae. As we join all of you in mourning the passing of Mzee Nyachae, we also join you in celebrating his accomplishments. The Honorable Mzee Nyachae was a great son of Kenya, whose immeasurable contributions to the nation spanned many decades and inspired millions of Kenyans. In the passing of the Honorable Nyachae, we are all deprived of his leadership, great passion, determination, and energy towards serving our country. And even in death, Mzee Nyachae undoubtedly stands tall amongst dedicated patriots of this country. His service to Kenya was characterized by utmost integrity, rare zeal, unbridled commitment to duty, and a passionate candor that earned him accolades in 3 successive administrations. Mzee Nyachae was a remarkable leader who motivated all those around him to be honorable, decisive, and accountable to the people they serve. Mzee served the people of Kenya with diligence and devotion in different capacities, including that of cabinet minister, chief secretary, legislator of consequence, prominent businessman. And Kenya is undoubtedly better off for having had Mzee Nyachae and his legacy is fundamentally entwined with the peace, prosperity, and democracy that all Kenyans enjoy today. At a personal level, I vividly recall many interactions with the late Mzee Nyachae over the many years. Interactions with him as an elder, a mentor, a counselor, and a friend. Mzee Nyachae always had a word of wisdom, advice, and encouragement for me, and his impact on my life shall never be lost, just as his vision of this country shall never be forgotten. Therefore, as we mourn the loss of this great son of Kenya, we pay tribute to his legacy, which I trust will be carried on for generations to come. Titans of history like the late Mzee Nyachae only die a physical death, for in their legacy and the millions of lives they have made better, they enjoy immortality of the soul. Mzee Nyachae will live on forever in our hearts, our minds, and memories, and in the history of a nation that is eternally grateful for his exemplary service. In his memory, and in consultation with the leadership of Kisii County, and to fortify our appreciation of this great son of Kenya, as a government, we have considered it fit to rename this stadium the Simeon Nyachae Stadium Kisii. And to ensure that this stadium is completed by the end of this year and to an international standard, we will allocate an additional Kenya shillings 150 million to the county government of Kisii to have this stadium complete. Further, we have decided at Nyantagru Stadium, hiyo ambapo pia Mzee Nyachae hapo alitoka hapo, we have decided that in order to give the sons and daughters of the Gusii community an opportunity to tap their sports potential, as we heard of the late Mzee Nyachae, today I also direct the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Culture and Heritage to embark immediately on the development of a sports academy at Nyantrago Stadium, ambayo sasa itaitwa Nyantika Mayoro Sports Academy. Namna hiyo, na hata hiyo tujaribu tumalize mbele ya niende nyumbani. So ladies and gentlemen, may I conclude by saying, as Christians, let us take solace from the word of God in Psalm 73:26, which says, "My flesh, my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." We pray the Almighty God rest the soul of this great man in eternal peace. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki.
Definitely widely unexpected of the send-off ceremony of the late Simeon Nyachae. Little politics, just some memories of where he might have interacted with key speakers who mentioned memories from what they remember of their interactions with the late Simeon Nyachae. But of course, just reflecting on some of the keynote speeches that have been made here, perhaps beginning with that of President Uhuru Kenyatta, he remembers Nyachae as a friend, a political mentor, and as a person from who he learned so much. Remember, the Nyachae family and the Kenyatta family have lots of connections, not just in politics, but also in business. And perhaps to just commemorate the life and times of the late Simeon Nyachae, this stadium, currently called Gusii Stadium, is to be renamed the Simeon Nyachae Stadium Kisii, and the government is going to be pumping some 100 million shillings to just finish up its construction to put it to the stature of international standards. That, of course, being after consultations with the county governments, consultations between the national and the county government. Other key note speakers here today being Deputy President William Ruto, who also recollected incidents of his interaction with the late Simeon Nyachae. An incident that perhaps comes in mind was in the heat of the 2007 campaigns. At that time, Ruto was in ODM and had come to campaign here in Kisii, and at the time he and Omingo Magara, he says, appear to have flouted what Nyachae would at the time call decent politics, and there were chaos that erupted at the event where the two were being hosted by some Kisii leaders. Other commemorations or just memories of the events surrounding the lives and times of the life and times of the late Simeon Nyachae being an incident leading up to the 2002 transition, the so-called Kibaki Tosha moment. And the person who kickstarted that discussion here was Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who claims to have struck a coalition agreement between himself, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and Simeon Nyachae, only moments before Raila resurfaced to Uhuru Park and endorsed Kibaki's presidential bid with that popular statement of Kibaki Tosha. And he, the former Prime Minister, gave a clarification here. He says that there had not been a consensus who would be the presidential candidate from their discussions as three presidential hopefuls at the time. That's former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Simeon Nyachae, and that his decision to eventually head to Uhuru Park for the Kibaki Tosha was because time was running out, and KANU was way ahead in terms of preparations for the 2002 polls, already at the time unveiling Uhuru Kenyatta, who was to be their presidential candidate in the 2002 polls, and for them to beat the government candidate at the time, they had to eventually endorse one of them, and he says that's what prompted him to endorse Kibaki's re-election, and as they say, the rest is history. A lot also being talked about the private life of the late Simeon Nyachae. Most family members that spoke here in their tributes, remembering him for his tough disciplinarian tactics, and for the kids, particularly for his children, they recollect that the man that we knew as a provincial administrator when he got back to home was very strict in terms of disciplining his kids, and besides that, there's also talk about his love for country music that has sunk down to the generations that came after, particularly among his children, and therefore quite an interesting day of recollections here. Ashley, if you can hear me, could take it over from us here at Gusii Stadium.
All right, thank you very much, Murimi Mwangi. Of course, that is family, friends, and leaders led by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the funeral service of the late Simeon Nyachae, a man who has been described as a great Kenyan, a great man, and a great politician who was brave, honest and courageous, a loving, strict father and father figure. Of course, he will be remembered for his contribution to public service and to the country at large. That he has been praised as a man who had integrity, commitment to duty during his years of service, a disciplinary, of course. His legacy continues. May his soul rest in peace. Now to other news of the day. Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji is dead.